say that the Forsaken had suffered in recent times is an understatement. They lost a ton in the prior wars, their capital, Undercity, was completely demolished, and ultimately, their leader and their everything, Sylvanas Windrunner, had abandoned them, proclaiming that they are nothing. The current state of Forsaken is unclear, the borders are not yet determined after the war, and now we are in the Shadowlands. However, once we return, what exactly is going to happen with the Forsaken and their culture? Brought to you by Gamivo.com. Make sure to click the link in the description and get Shadowlands as well as game time at discounted prices. Sylvanas to the Forsaken is a lot more than just a simple ruler. I would go as far as to call her their mother, not in a literal sense, but not really too far from it either. This is evident by the fact that pretty much every single Forsaken dialogue mentions the Dark Lady in one way or the other. The undead are a relatively recent phenomenon, mainly humans that fell against the Scourge and were raised to serve them. Yet, some of them broke free, completely lost, half alive, and with no clear purpose or a goal or what to do, essentially wandering zombies. Well, Sylvanas stepped up as a leader, united them, and gave them exactly what they were missing. She led them through the darkest of times, and most importantly, she is one of them, meaning that she was incredibly relatable to every single Forsaken. Because of this, I'd say that undead were the most loyal to their ruler out of pretty much any other race on Azeroth. At the start, they were looking to establish their foothold, and they essentially had two goals. One was to follow and serve their queen, and the other was to take revenge against the Lich King. Well, about a decade ago, we accomplished just that, and that created a significant problem as even Sylvanas saw no purpose anymore and she just threw herself off the Frozen Throne, which is also exactly the same time when she made a deal with the jailer. However, recently, at the end of Battle for Azeroth, after Sylvanas had dragged the Forsaken through countless wars and disasters and crimes, she pretty much just told them that they are all nothing and just disappeared and abandoned all of them without a single explanation or a word. Now, this would be one thing if the Horde had lost their warchief, as they had multiple times in the past, but I'm guessing this hit the undead harder than anything in the world. Dark Lady, watch over you. Victory for the Forsaken. What did this even mean at this point? What does it mean to be a Forsaken? These are all the questions that are now no doubt plaguing the race, especially as the Forsaken had been forsaken by the one that gave them that name in the first place. To top all this off, Battle for Azeroth had not been kind to the undead either. Pretty much most of Tirisfal Glades was destroyed, the majority of Forsaken strongholds and Undercity was completely demolished, and at the current point in time, the Forsaken are left without a place to call their home. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a presence in the Eastern Kingdoms, but at this point, it is at an all-time low. Additionally, as the Horde lost their warchief, currently the faction itself is also quite a mess, and it is led by a pretty large and bulky council. At the moment, Lilian Voss is the representative of the Forsaken, but she doesn't really have a big desire to do that, and she even plans to step away as a more viable leader appears. Now, Calia Menethil is also present, and she's in a way seen as a spiritual leader of the undead, and it does seem that she will lead one day. However, her situation is a bit confusing to say the least. While on one hand, there are Forsaken that see her as one of them, as after all most of the undead are just Lordaeron inhabitants, and she's a Menethil, meaning that she could be a legit undead ruler of a fallen kingdom. She also only recently turned undead, and in a strange manner as well. What is 100% certain though is that she's no Sylvanas. She never really shared their struggle, their lost sense of purpose and despair, and she's a lot more accustomed to humans and the Alliance than she is to the undead. So she's an undead, but not really a Forsaken. Yes, it is more than clear that the Forsaken situation is completely up in the air right now and that anything could happen. Keep in mind, the Horde Alliance war never really ended, only a truce was achieved, so we don't know what are the exact borders and who will take what. Because of that, I see a few scenarios happening. The Forsaken could take an aggressive route and try to retake some of their territories, or as I said in previous video, as they lost Undercity, they might now focus all their efforts on Gilneas in order to acquire a new stronghold, which would could, of course, lead to a new war. Or the Forsaken could take the neutral route and just abandon the Eastern Kingdoms, as is quite likely, as Blizzard, through Battle for Azeroth, wanted to make each of the factions control most of their own home continents. Or additionally, which I also see as very likely, something could happen in the peace talks, which I do believe should happen quite soon. Currently, the situation is incredibly tense and unique as well. Sylvanas, there was the main alliance enemy, had abandoned the Horde, and everyone is just trying to wash their hands of her influence. Most of the alliance-friendly characters are in the Horde Council, and Calia here could be the key. Calia was a human until recently, a noble, and very close to Anduin and the Alliance. At the same time, she's now a Forsaken and is representing the undead. So she could be the bridge here between the two, which might create some type of a cooperation or even a shared type of life between the factions. If peace deals happen, the Forsaken might allow the Gilneans to restore their kingdom, while the Alliance might become more accepting of the Forsaken with Calia now, and they might restore an undead version of Lordran that is not focusing on the plague, attacking others and scheming for the jailer, but instead living in harmony with the humans. I think this is highly possible and might even be a good way for gameplay progression, as really, who wants yet another faction war? Additionally, a bit of a wild theory that I have, but I think that is also highly likely, is the Shadowlands itself. Keep in mind, we are going into the heart of the Maw right now, and who created the Forsaken? The Lich King, who was subsequently created directly through the Jailer. For the longest time, people wanted to find a cure for undeath, but as we realized that this is not just a minor curse, but something that was created as a part of this gigantic afterlife mechanism, it is a lot more complex than just a simple disenchantment. However, as we entangle the mystery that is the Shadowlands, defeat the creator of the Lich King, and release the afterlife, we might find some sort of a solution for the Forsaken, where they might either get their living forms back, or at least their souls working as if they were living. While this theory does seem a bit over the top, I don't really think it is too outrageous, as after all, right now we are at the source of undeath. As it is almost 9.1, I gotta say it is a bit strange that the Forsaken thus far had about zero influence on the Shadowlands, seeing how much they're actually tied to it and how the ruler Sylvanas is one of the key characters, but that might change as we progress further down the story and really uncover what exactly is going on. Thank you for watching. Check out how Il'gynoth literally predicted Shadowlands by clicking on the screen, and also check out Doronsmovies Academy for videos on real-world history and science. See you next time.